Oh, wow, it's actually working. What is happening here? Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my word. Thanks for sticking around. This substitute for Google Hangouts that YouTube is wanting us to use to stream now on YouTube is extremely craptastic, and half the time it doesn't want to work. It's taking me off. Don't mean to complain, but thank you for coming. Chris, the old-ass retro gamer here, hopefully going to be able to stream another video game collections video. This one is all about Nintendo, starting off with the Nintendo Famicom through a third, maybe like 2/5 of my NES collection. Yeah, so I have so many games in my NES collection that it would be hard to do an entire video dedicated to it because it would be about 4 hours long and I would probably lose my voice about halfway through it. So I'm going to split it in half and do the other half next week if Wirecast actually allows me to do so. We shall see. I shall have to try to start earlier next time just in case. But thanks for coming today. Who we got in the chat so far? I know 3 people are watching. So I've got everything stacked up here. So what I am going to be talking about is the Famicom Disk System, and all my NES games through the letter J. It's going to be a long one, people. I hope you're ready to hear me talking for a couple of hours. So let's get started. So when it comes to the Famicom, I would usually rather get a repro. It's just the way I am. I would rather just have all of my games, uniform in the one place, with my NES games, all the same shape, everything like that. But sometimes it's impossible because a repro costs more than the actual game itself would cost, so it is more cost effective to just buy the game from Japan. You can always, especially if you have clone consoles like I do, since I have a retro freak, it's easy to buy or to download a patch to put the game in English and install it on the console, and it will make your game easy to play. So I only have, let me see here, 5 games, I think. Yeah, 5 games for the Famicom. Starting off with, you know what, let me get my phone here, because these are funktastic Japanese names that I would probably butcher and cannot remember. So let's see here. Let's go into my program. Okay, so the first one is called Akumaju Densetsu, otherwise known as Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. Why did I want to get the Famicom version instead of just buying the NES version? Well, when it comes to the Famicom version, it has an extra sound chip inside of it. I cannot remember the name of it, but what it does is it gives you a couple of extra channels of sound. The music sounds deeper, there's more bass to it. It just sounds more like real music and not chiptune-y. I mean, don't get me wrong, the music in the NES version is great. I actually own the soundtrack on vinyl. So, I really just wanted the original version of the game to play. And let's take a look at the cartridge itself. It is in fantastic shape. I keep on forgetting that this thing is reversed. Yeah, this is in, fantastic shape. I mean, it looks like it was never played. And I got this for steel. There's a reseller or a seller on eBay that I go to for my import stuff. I get a lot of my Famicom Disk System games from him, and his stuff is always in great shape. And I feel very comfortable buying from him because I know that what I get is going to be the genuine article. So if you've never played Castlevania 3, it's a Castlevania game, except you have multiple characters you can play as. You're not playing as Simon either, you're playing as Trevor Belmont. And you have, Alucard? What is it? Alucard, and I can't remember the other 2 characters' names. It's the thief guy and then the wizard girl, or the druid girl. But it's a fantastic game, even better on the Famicom because of the extra sound chip. The next one is, let me look this up. This one's got a strange name as well, even though I know exactly what to call it in English. Come on, where are you? Come on, there you are. Okay, This one is King Kong 2 Ikari no Megaton Punch. This is a game by Konami that is based on King Kong Lives. It was a sequel to the King Kong movie that came out in the 70s with Jeff Bridges and, what is it, Jessica... Oh, I can't remember her name. Charles Grodin was in it. I cannot remember the actress's name. But she was terrible in it. I'm surprised she got jobs and an Oscar afterwards. But it is a god-awful movie or it's a god-awful sequel to a god-awful movie. But it was good enough to get a video game based on it. And this one is also in fantastic shape. And this one is kind of like Metal Gear. It's like a top-down action game. Not stealthy, obviously. You're playing as freaking King Kong. But it's really, really fun. Throwing around boulders and shit. It is... I mean, I wanted to get it just, you know... Since I'm a movie license whore, I can say that I have a game based on a piece of crap movie that no one even remembers from the 80s. And the thing is, the video game is like leaps and bounds above the movie. It is fantastic. You can kind of see what it looks like on here. You play as Donkey Kong. You play as King Kong after he had his heart transplant. And he's going around looking for Lady Kong so he can make some Kong babies. What's up, Jason? How's it going? I will get you that information about Toy Story games after the stream is over. Next is another game by Konami. It seems like all the Famicom games I have are from Konami. I haven't actually tried this one yet because it's an RPG. But this one is in a weird-shaped box, and it has a weird-shaped cartridge. Well, it's in a weird-shaped box because it is a weird-shaped cartridge, and it is called... Shit, let me look you up again! Because I cannot remember how to say your name! Shit, where are you? Give me 1 second while I look this up on my phone. Come on, where are you? There it is. Moryu Senki Madara. Okay. Yeah, it's an RPG. I haven't tried it yet because I wasn't able to locate a patch. But look at this. I mean, you saw what those other cartridges look like from the Famicom. This thing is huge, and I'm assuming that it's got one of those extra awesome sound chips in it, and it probably has a battery backup. Obviously, it's an RPG. But I didn't go out of my way to look for this. Oh, this actually comes with a map? See, look, this is what happens when you don't play your games. You realize that you have awesome things that go along with it. Sweet. I didn't realize it came with a map. That is fantastic. And this manual is freaking huge. But yeah, I should probably make some time and try this one out. I don't remember ever seeing anybody making a repro of this one, which is one of the reasons why I bought it. When I saw it on eBay, I was just putzing around, looking at that dude's profile on eBay, the one whose games I buy from Japan, and that was there. And I was like, oh, it's a Konami game. That should be pretty cool. And it looks kind of cool. I looked up some footage online, and I was like, oh, it's an RPG from Japan. We didn't get over here. I'll try that out. Still haven't tried it out. And I bought that probably 3 years ago. Okay, so this one, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm sure you do if you know me. I do a podcast called The Movie Is Starting. And what it is my friend Jeremiah, who's an actor and a comic book writer, and we get a guest. We ask them to pick a movie from their childhood, from like the 70s, 80s, or 90s, and we record a commentary track for it where the three of us sit around, talk about the movie, and make fun of it like MST3K style. Well, we did one with the Game Beaters over the internet. So it's me and Jeremiah and then the three Game Beaters watching Major League. It's going to be the pilot episode. I think it comes out next week on Monday. But yeah, I told them in the podcast while we're recording it that, hey, we're watching Major League. Did you know that there's a Major League game that came out in Japan for the Famicom? And they did not. And they immediately went out and bought a copy of it because I told them so. This game is Major League in name only. But the cartridge is in great shape. It is the most generic baseball game ever. All the characters are like super deformed, and there's ones that I think characters in the game that I think are supposed to be representations of like Wild Thing and Tom Berenger and Corbin Burnson, but you wouldn't really know because they don't say so, which is kind of stupid. So if you are looking for a generic baseball game that has a movie license attached to it from the 80s that everybody's forgotten about, yeah, this is the one for you. But this is the best one I have from Japan. This one I was so happy that I was able to get a copy of. I saw a copy of this at the Midwest Gaming Classic. I want to say it was the second year that I went. It was maybe the third year, because I think it was the first year that I had the panel at the Midwest Gaming Classic. It was the last year they were at that other hotel when the dealer's hall was out in a tent in the parking lot. I saw this sitting there, but there was nothing on the inside except the cartridge. There was no manual, no nothing. And if there was one game I want complete, it's going to be this one. And that is Namco's Star Wars game. And this is the most bug nuts crazy game ever. It has the coolest looking cartridge. And this thing looks brand freaking new. I mean, it is so clean. It's like this reflective blue, metallic blue color. And it has like the digitized Millennium Falcon and a picture of Luke Skywalker on it. And it comes with everything on the inside. This is one of the few that I know of that comes in a clamshell and not like one of these cardboard boxes. But the thing is, we got a Star Wars game in the U.S. They got a completely different one in Japan. Don't ask me why. It must have been a licensing thing. But Namco's version, I think, follows the movie a little bit more closely, even though Luke has black hair and carries a lightsaber from the start. But it goes to a lot of the places that you remember the movie going, and the outer space scenes, like when you're shooting at the TIE fighters and all that, is more like what you saw in the movie. It's like from a first-person view. Except there's a couple of weird oddities that only could have come from Japan, like while you're inside the Jawa's sandcrawler, you come across Darth Vader for some reason, and the moment you hit him with your lightsaber, he turns into a giant-headed scorpion. Makes no sense, but I think they're just trying to say this, yeah, you're fighting Darth Vader, but he's an imposter. Kind of like the way you fought Darth Vader in that, on Dagobah in Empire Strikes Back, where it was like a fake Vader that was just like a representation of Luke's dark side. It's weird. There's some like stuff like that in here that make no sense. But honestly, I like this one more than the one that we got over here from JVC, which is really saying something. So this one is actually kind of a hard one to find complete, which I was really, like I said, I was really lucky to get that. Okay, and that's all I have for the Famicom. Let's go into the Disk System. Now, these are the ones where I'm going to have to look every one of them up because the names are funktastic. All right, so what's up, 8-bit What did I just say? 8-bit glitch? No, 8-bit glitch. Wow, I'm getting so tongue-tied tonight. What's up, Musty Hobbit? How's it going? Wow. Sorry for mispronouncing your screen name. I am really sorry. That was not intentional. That was so stupid. Okay, so Famicom Disk System. So, I do have a Sharp Twin Famicom, which is actually sitting right next to me. I have it out in the open. Maybe I can pull it out. Oh no, books don't fall over. No! Okay, you can kind of see it right here. It's this red thing. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's kind of tied down. Or the cable is going behind my desk. But I bought it specifically so I can play the Super Mario Brothers 2, the original version of Super Mario Brothers 2 that was called Doki Doki Panic in Japan. And ended up getting sucked into it because there were so many awesome games that came out for the Famicom Disk System in Japan that were never brought over here. I think I have like 2 or 3 that got repros put onto a cartridge, but I wanted the original versions because the Disk System is actually kind of cool. The music is like, I have games that are available on cartridge over here that were legit cartridges. The music and like sound effects are way better on the Disk System, surprisingly, than on a cartridge. Don't ask me why. I'll talk about them when I get to them. So what's going on here? You're not the first to say that. I'm sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. Liking some Devil May Cry 5. Oh, were you playing Devil May Cry 5 last night, Musty? Yeah, I couldn't come to the stream last night because I went to see... they're doing like a 40th anniversary of Star Trek the Motion Picture. They released it like in theaters for 2 nights, so I went and saw it last night with a couple of friends. Got to the first level, thinking I'd hate playing as him, but so fun. Yeah, I still need to play Devil May Cry games. But anyway, let's talk about these Famicom Disk Systems. So I think I have these completely out of order. I think I do. Yes, I think I do. Yes, I do. Screw it. I'll go through them as I see fit. Don't cur. Okay, so you want to talk about a game that came out on the cartridge over here, but actually came out on the disk system in Japan? Metroid. Yeah, Metroid. I found this while I was out game hunting with Captain Algebra. There's a store near me called The Exchange, and they had a Famicom Disk System, like the actual standalone Famicom Disk System, not the Sharp, and a Famicom bundled with a bunch of games. They had like 3 or 4 games on the top shelf with it. They wanted to sell everything together. One of the ones they had was the original Legend of Zelda. The Zelda games came out on the disk system in Japan, not on cartridge. And I saw that they had Metroid, and I wanted to have this to complete my Metroid collection. And they were like, no, we can't sell them separately. We want to sell them all together. I said, that's the only one I really want. I mean, please. And the guy was like, okay, fine. He sold it to me. And he was like, I'll give it to you for 50. And I was like, maybe 45. And he said, yeah, sure. Because I got skills, I guess. So yeah, Metroid, it's the exact same game, but the music just sounds different. It sounds better. It comes out sounding a little more bassy. There's more to the music. I mean, there's a little bit more, I don't know, it just sounds like there's more instruments being used or more tones being used in it. I can't explain it. But it's the exact same game, and it's still super fun. Let's see here. Eternal Story Gall Force. I think this one is based on a manga or an anime. And I talked about this one on John Riggs' channel. He did a video about the Famicom Disk System. He asked me to be a part of it because he knew that I was collecting for it. And this one is a shmup, a vertical scrolling shmup. And it's kind of cool because your ship has, like, the wings are destructible. Like, you have your main body, and then you have, like, these 2 things that the wings are attached to. And those get destroyed, like, as you're taking damage, like, one will get destroyed, then the other side will get destroyed, and then your main body will get destroyed, and then your ship is dead. You're dead. As you beat levels, you collect new characters, and those characters add new weapons to the ship, and then you can select them between levels. One might be like a laser gun, one might be like a spread gun type of thing. It's really, really fun. And I highly recommend this one. It's really cool. Let's see. Here's the big one. This is what I bought this system for so I could play. It was, how do I say it? Yume Kuju Doki Doki Panic, and this is what ended up becoming Super Mario Bros. 2 over here. I remember I watched the Gaming Historian's video on this, and it's like the characters in this are from some sort of FCI ad campaign or something, and it was meant to be like a promotional thing, but the game ended up being really good, so that when Nintendo of America deemed that the real Super Mario Bros. 2, this one was way too difficult for Americans because we suck. They just decided to, like, hack this and turn it into what became Super Mario Bros. 2 that we all know. But this is the Super Mario Bros. 2 that we got, or that Japan got that we didn't get. But it's considered way too hard for us because there's, like, mushrooms that will actually de-evolve you. And, like, you know, the ones that give you the power-up, they'll power you down. And it's, like, insanely hard. But it's still fun. Yes. Let's see what's going on. I want to get a disc system for my Famicom. It is really worth it. There are so many cool games, at least the ones that I've managed to pick up so far. Hey, Pico. Hey, what's up, Eugene? How's it going? Want to drop by and drop a like? I'll watch this later. You know I love the NES and Famicom. Well, this is only part 1. Part 2 is next week also. You can yell at your controller to kill something. Yes, that is true. That is right, Jason. The second controller on the Famicoms and the Sharp Twin Famicom has a microphone built into the controller, like at the top. And there's those Pols voice characters in Legend of Zelda. Well, originally the idea was you would scream or say something into the microphone and it would paralyze them and then you could kill them. And you had to do that every time they were on screen. That was taken out of the American version, obviously, because there was no microphones built into our controllers. But that's also one of the reasons why the controllers for the Famicoms were hardwired to the console, because you probably wouldn't be able to do that if it was able to be plugged taken off and plugged back in again. So I can get your controller. A disc must have had more tracks, kind of like how Famicom Castle. Yeah, and we're just talking about Castlevania 3. Got that for the Famicom as well because it has that extra sound chip in it. That's why I bought it. What's up, Cabot? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Okay, so let me see. Oh, these are all over the place. Yeah, I don't really have a place to put these games currently, so I kind of have them just like stacked up on a shelf somewhere or over here. So I also have F1 Race and F1, or was it Famicom Grand Prix F1 Race and Famicom Grand Prix 2 3D Hot Rally. So F1 Race is just like the Game Boy game. I think this is what the Game Boy game is a port of. Behind the car, really simple. It's almost like playing pole position. It's not very good. But 3D Hot Rally is the upgraded version where the cars are bigger, everything is bigger, and it's actually really, really fun to play. There's actually some scrolling. And Mario and all them are in this one. They show them on the cover of the first game. I honestly do not recall seeing them in the game. They are in the second one. The second one is the one to get. Honestly, the Game Boy game, I think, is actually better than the Disk System game. Here's one called Dead Zone, and this is a text adventure game, I do believe, that I cannot play because it's all in Japanese, but I only got it for like $5, so that's why I bought it. I was like, oh, I can add more Famicom games to my collection, and yeah, I can't play it. But it's my Sunsoft, so it can't be all that bad. Here's another one that I talked about in that video on John Riggs' channel, Falcyon. It's kind of like playing Gyrus. It's a shmup where your characters are going into the screen and things are like spiraling out towards you and you have to shoot them and destroy them. It's actually pretty fun. It says it's actually in 3D here, and I'm not sure what that means. Was there like a 3D attachment like for the Sega Master System for the NES or for the Famicom in Japan that I'm not aware of? Because that's strange. But it's a fun game. This is another one that I talked about on John Riggs' channel. This one is called Arumana no Kiseki. And I know this one did get... You can make repros of this. I don't know if you need an extra chipset or not because of the music and all that, but it's actually pretty cool. It's like a ripoff of Indiana Jones, and it's also a little bit of Bionic Commando because your character has like a hook shot, I guess, that shoots off diagonally, and it lets you climb up. Like, it's attached to a rope. It's like a hook attached to a rope. It'll latch onto like a platform above you if there is one, and then you can climb the rope to the next platform, and you keep on doing that to ascend in areas and all that. Only thing is sometimes the enemy placement is like infuriating because like it's a tiny little platform you need to get to. There's an enemy on top of that platform, and the moment you climb up, it will knock you back off because the enemy is standing right there. Kind of annoying. I think you might need a specific. There's a special. Oh god, I can't talk. There is a specific section in this game I cannot get past because of something like that. And I think it's because I need a specific weapon that I can use to shoot diagonally up at the guy to take him out before I get to that platform. Haven't found it, so I think I need to play around with the game a little bit more. But it's really, really fun. This one is highly recommended. This one you guys might also know as well, if I can find the name. This one is called Nazo no Murasame Jo. I talked a bit about this on Riggs' channel also. This one is called The Mysterious Murasame Castle. And I downloaded the translated version to my 3DS. You could get this off of the eShop. I guess that's what it was called back then. And it's really fun. It's like Legend of Zelda-ish, where you play as a samurai. And it's like you're running through haunted castles or something? There's like ghosts around and stuff. It's actually kind of neat. My phone is dying for some reason because it's retarded. So I gotta run through these games really fast before my phone craps out on me. This one is Ultraman Kaiju Taikoku no Gyakushu. This one is a side-scrolling beat-em-up platformer. It's based on Ultraman, obviously. I love Ultraman. I used to watch the TV show all the time when I was a little kid, coming from like kindergarten, first grade, and it would be on channel 50, which is like one of the UHF channels out here. I'd watch it all the time. I thought it was fantastic. This one's really cool. I talked about this on John Riggs' channel also. Let's see here. Blah, blah. These are a sneak preview. These are going to be included in the end of the month pickup video. These are 2 other Ultraman games that I bought. I got the other 2 remaining ones that I needed. And this one right here is called Ultraman Club Chikyu Dakan Sakusen. And I haven't played it yet. Just showed up. And the other one is actually the direct sequel to the first one that I showed off. And this one is called Ultraman 2 Shutsugeki Kitoku Tai. And this is another platformer from what I can tell. This one is... I showed this one off in last month's pickup video. And this one is called Fun Shaolin Kyo and Koku no Mao. It's a beat 'em up. It's like Final Fight, but for, an NES system, so everyone's really tiny. And I watched some footage of this one, and I really liked what I saw, so I went out and looked for a copy of this on eBay, found that seller that I always go to on eBay, and he was selling a copy of it. And its direct sequel, which I have not shown off yet because it didn't show up until after the pickup video. And this one is just called Fun Shorinken. And this one is another beat 'em up with the same character. So I don't know if this is based on a manga or not, or an anime of some sort, but got both of those in that series. This one is called... Let me see here. Come on, work with me, phone. Monty no Doki Doki Daisasu, and it's actually called Monty on the Run. This is a game that was really popular in England, in Britain. Monty on the Run came out for the ZX Spectrum, and I think the Commodore 64, and it's a platformer. Honestly, I know a lot of people love this game, but I'm really not into it. I tried it out a couple of times. I tried to like it, but I just could not get into it at all. This one is called... This one, John Riggs talked about in that video that I did with him, and it looks so cool that I wanted a copy of my own. It is called Maikyu Jin Dababa, and it's kind of like playing Star Tropics. It's like top-down like Legend of Zelda, and like Star Tropics is... But your character always jumps, no matter what you do. You don't walk, you don't run, you jump all over the place. And it's kind of strange, but it's really, really fun. It's like a top-down platformer, I guess. It's kind of neat. And he plays this like monk kid that looks like Aang from The Last Airbender. Here is the version Japan got of Kid Icarus. Over there it was called Hikari Shinwa Pelutina no Kagami. And it's the exact same game we got over here, Kid Icarus. Except this is one of the same thing that happened with that Metroid game where the music and the sound effects are different and they sound better. So, something about having this on a disc did something. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Just finished streaming some Contra on the NES. I haven't played Contra in so long. Hey, Kev, I was just thinking of playing some Contra soon. Just listen to the Retronauts episode on it. I am not. Is that a podcast? Hey, Gene, I bet you beat it on stream in 40 minutes. I'm not even great at Contra. We have faith in you. It took some work, but I was able to finally beat Contra No Death Run on my channel. Didn't that new Contra game just come out for the Switch today? I remember seeing somebody had it like in their hand. I think it was actually T-Belly on Twitter. This is called Esper Dream. This is another one I got for relatively cheap. Bought it because I was like, oh, look, if the title's in English, the game's definitely got to be in English also. No, it's not. It's an RPG, and I would like to play it. I'm probably going to have to look up some sort of a walkthrough in order to find out what's being said to me so I can progress in the game. But that one is also by Konami. Konami, put out a ton of games for this console. And then these two go together. These are like part 1 and 2. But actually, it's kind of like the way the Pokemon games always come out with two different halves to the same game. So we've got Famicom Mukashi Benashi Yuyuki Kohen and Famicom Mukashi Benashi Yuyuki Zenpen. These are all about Journey to the West, the Monkey King. And one is about one character and one is about the other, but the two games kind of meet in the middle and, form a whole story. So, it's an adventure game. It's I do believe these are RPGs. These were actually released by Nintendo. We never got these over here, but I cannot play them because everything is in Japanese and I will not understand what the hell is going on. Next week, then I saw a picture of somebody holding it in their hand, oh my god, I can't wait. Is the demo any good? Is the game any good? That's my question, because that's not really... That's what the PlayStation 1 era Contras looked like, and I was not pleased when I saw that. It's not really that good. I might still buy it, but I'll have to wait for a discount. Okay, phone off. That was it for the Famicom Disk System. Now let's get an NES. I'm going to have to run through these pretty quick because, yeah, like I said, this is only the first chunk of my NES. We're going to do the next half of my console collection for the NES next week. I've got everything from A through J. Yeah, I still have 4 rows plus probably 6 games to talk about on my shelves. Okay, 1942. Capcom shooter shmup, vertical scrolling shmup, where you play as a bomber and you're shooting down Japanese planes. I always found it strange that the Japanese made a game about killing themselves. It was $60. If it was $60, I would have canceled and waited. Oh, is it a discount or a budget title game? Is it like $30 or something? We got Abadox. Why I am not able to frame anything today. Shirt. $40. I might wait. Abadox is a vertically and horizontally scrolling shmup. It reminds me a lot of Life Force because you're inside of like a living creature and you're destroying like all of the white blood cells and defense mechanisms within this creature's body. It's okay. I remember when I rented it back in the day from the video store that I ended up working at for like 2 years when I was in my late teens. I ended up having to use my NES Advantage's slow motion ability in order to even play the game because it was so freaking difficult. Here is one of the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons games. This is Dragon Strike. One of my goals was to get all these AD&D games for the NES. There's still one left. I think it's called Hillsfar, but it's like super expensive. They had it at the Midwest Gaming Classic. I was not going to pay $300 for it though. That's for damn sure. But this is different from the other ones that I have or that are available because this one is like playing Dragon Spirit. It's a shmup where you play as a dragon and you're just flying around shooting shit out of the air as a dragon. That's awesome. Here's like one of the typical ones, and this is Heroes of the Lance. This one is a side-scrolling RPG adventure type game. I think this is the one. No, I think it's the other one. Heroes of the Lance. These are all based on computer games. These are like ports from like the Commodore. Because I know my friend had these for the Commodore back in the day. And like the Atari computers and all that. But yeah, this one's okay. The one that everyone talks shit about is Pool of Radiance. This one is... Or is it the other way around? I think Heroes of the Lance is when everyone says it's garbage. And this one's okay. This one is like a straight up RPG. And you have like your party, and you know there's like these isometric level, the isometric view that you have, and then when you get into a fight, it turns into like a standard RPG fight, and you can kind of see that on the back a little bit. If you can actually see what's going on, it's okay. Out of the 3 that I have, Dragon Strike is probably my favorite. I think that's the only one I really enjoyed when I tried them on my NES Classic. Which one? Yeah, Dragon Strike is a shmup. It's the out of the 3 of them, Dragon Strike is the one that I like playing the most. Yeah, and it's kind of open worldy. Yeah, you don't really have... It's not like a scrolling shmup. It's just like you can go anywhere and... Yeah. A lot of these games, you know, since they're based on PC games, they are kind of vague. You know, they expected you to mess around with it. Not like... I mean, things are different on a console. You know, like you got games like Contra and you got games like Zelda. You know, you have limited space. Hudson's Adventure Island. I know I'm not making a lot of sense. I'm really tired. I almost passed out when I got home from work because I'm an old man. Dragon Strike's the one to get. If you're going to get one, get Dragon Strike. Hillsfar looks cool too, but I don't have high hopes, and I don't think it's going to be $300 or worth $300, which I probably will not spend. Probably. I might. I won't. This is a clone of Wonder Boy by Sega. Hudson licensed the game from Sega and then turned it into this, changed Wonder Boy into Master Higgins. And because the thing was, I remember playing Wonder Boy in the arcade at like a Chuck E. Cheese? I went there one time and I played the shit out of Wonder Boy, and then like 2 or 3 years later, you know, my brother asks for this for Christmas, gets it, and I'm playing it. I'm like, I know I've played this game before, and I find out it's Wonder Boy. That's, you know, I don't understand that. They bought the license from Sega to put one of their games on their console, and then they changed it. Why not just keep it as Wonder Boy? But that was popular enough to get a sequel, so we got Hudson's Adventure Island Part 2, which is more of the same, except this time You can actually like ride around on some of the animals that you come across. There's like a Stegosaurus-y looking, or was it like a Loch Ness Monster-y type of dinosaur you can swim around on and stuff like that. It's more of the same though. It's actually a better game, I think. Here's like a lightning rod of hate. I got this for pretty cheap from a dude on Facebook. It's Adventures of Bayou Billy. Yeah, no game is worth $300. I have never spent that much on a game. Oh yeah, I did. You were there, Jason. You saw me do it. The box protectors, I get them off of eBay. There's a bunch of sellers. Just go on to eBay, type in like NES box protector, and there's at least 3 different sellers that sell them in like different quantities. I just buy them in bulk. I'll buy like 50 of them at a time, so I have them on hand whenever I buy new games. It's a cool game in the fact that it's 3 different games in one. Like, it has 3 different types of gameplay. You got these side-scrolling beat-em-up levels, you've got driving levels, and then you've got light gun zapper levels. The only thing was, I don't think the zapper parts of the game use the zapper. I think it's just like you move a crosshair around the screen. Yeah. I can't be sure if the Japanese version used the zapper or not, because I've never played it. But that game is super hard and borderline insane, and the only thing that's really good about it are the graphics are cool and the music is awesome. I found this at that Video Games Then and Now store that I go to in Harwood Heights not too long ago. It's The Adventures of Lolo. It's like a puzzle game where he plays this little furball, and you basically are moving things around the level in order to take out the bad guys so you can escape each level, go onto another screen, do it all over again. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. This is one of the first games I got for the NES when I started getting back into collecting in 2013. There's a guy on Facebook that was selling like a big group of NES games for really, really cheap, and this is one of the ones that I got from him, and it's okay. It's a platformer. It's kind of like playing the Goonies, but the graphics are really bad, and the music is not good. Here's a repro that I got from Nintendo 64. There's actually a bunch of them in here you might see today, and the next time I do one of these streams also. Let me see. I got 1, 2. Only got 2 for this video? Yeah. Wow. Everything else is later in the alphabet. Okay. I guess that's the way this is working. All right. Oh, no. 3. Sorry, 3. Okay, so this one is Akira. I actually bought the Famicom version of this back in the day, being stupid, not realizing that you can't play Famicom games on the NES, and not realizing that every single game you buy is going to be in Japanese. So this was like in 2000 when eBay first started to kick in. So I bought it. I'm like, why doesn't this fit into my NES? And I had a top loader. I'm like, and yeah, it turns out, yeah, you need an adapter, and there was no clone consoles back then that could, translate things for you, because this is a graphic adventure game. It's not like an action game like the Commodore 64 or Amiga game was based on Akira. It's cool. Don't get me wrong, it's cool. And this has been translated, which is good. It's just not what I wanted in the Akira game. I kind of wanted to play as Kaneda and shoot mutant people and kick the living crap out of Tetsuo. But it's cool, don't get me wrong, it's good. Here's another one that I got from Nintendo 64, because he sells, I think he makes these, and then he sells them on Instagram, and he's got a bunch of them going right now on Instagram. If you're looking to buy some really good repros for a decent price, look up Nintendo 64 claim sale on Instagram, because I know he's selling like 50 of them right now. There's a couple I was looking at, but I don't know if I'm going to get any. This is Aladdin for the NES. They got Aladdin in like PAL territories back when all those Aladdin games were being released for like the Genesis and the Super Nintendo and whatnot. We never got it over here, but it's essentially a port of the Super Nintendo game, and it's not a very good port at that. It just does not control very well, and it's choppy as hell. Yeah. Hey, Jason, there's Alien 3. Yeah, I love Lolo. I enabled the shit out of that. Which one? Oh, the one that cost me $300. I know what you're talking about, Jason. I got you. Alien 3 for the NES. This is an LJN joint. I like Alien 3. I like all the versions of Alien 3 that were released. I think this is one of the few games based on Alien that's actually really good. Not this port particularly. Okay, so the weird thing about the Alien 3 games is most of, not all of them, well, I want to say 90% of them are based off of the Genesis game. This is a port of the Genesis game. The Game Gear version is a port of the Genesis game. The Master System version is a port of the Genesis game. The Super Nintendo game is its own thing, and the Game Boy game is its own thing. Don't ask me why, that there's this weird fractured thing going on with these games. But I love the Genesis game. It's one of my favorite Genesis games out there. This port is okay. It has really cool music, though, but the control is extremely weird. Like, your character moves way too freaking fast. Here's a game from my childhood. I used to play this on my dad's computer all the time. It's called Archon, and it's like playing chess and battle chess at the same time. It's like you have like your character or your pieces on the board. There's like manticores and unicorns and like all these mythical creatures, and your opponent does as well. But when you want to take someone else's space, you have to fight over it. It's not like my character takes yours, it's over. No, you have to actually have a fight. The screen changes. You're on a battlefield. You have to fight the other person for the right to take that space, and it's amazing. I love it. I love it. I used to play the shit out of that on my dad's Atari computer all the time. And when I found out there was an NES port, yes. What's up, Drunken Master Studios? How's it going, Mosley? God, I haven't talked to you in so long. Welcome, Mosley. Awesome. How's it going, Dr. Mysterio as well? Thank you for joining the stream. We got here a Styanax. This is, I guess it's trying to be like Rastan, but from what I understand, this is based on a arcade game. Never saw it. But it's a side-scrolling platformer, and it's not very good. I'm not a fan of it. I had it as a kid. It was one of the games I got from my parents. My parents never usually... They would ask my brother. They would never usually ask me what game I wanted for Christmas. I would just get something. My brother would be like, they'd be like, "No, what did you like for Christmas this year, little boy?" Oh, I want the Gremlins too. Oh, you're gonna get it. Chris gets whatever the fuck he gets. Just the way it worked in my house. Bad Dudes. This is a beat 'em up based on an arcade game that was extremely popular. The port is not that great, but as kind of crappy as it can be at times, I still enjoy it because of nostalgia. Mosley. It's been a while. Yes, it has, sir. How's everything going with you? What am I presenting? These are all of my Famicom Disk System, and NES games that I have currently in my collection, but I'm splitting it in half because I have way too many NES games to talk about in one video without losing my voice completely, and probably boring the shit out of everybody who's watching. Batman, we all know how awesome this game is. Sunsoft could do no wrong in the NES days. And the music, the gameplay, the graphics, everything. I don't know why Batman's purple. I don't know why there's dudes flying around with jetpacks shooting laser beams at you. But it's a fun game. I suspect that the game was something else that they turned into Batman after the fact. And that leads to Batman Returns. This is not a port of the Super Nintendo version. Here's another weird thing. Like, do you realize that every single Batman Returns game, aside from the Genesis and Sega CD versions, are all completely different from each other? None of them are ports of anything else. Every one of them is a completely different game by a completely different company. Well, Konami did release the Super Nintendo version, but they are not ports of each other. They're both beat-em-ups, but they're not the same in any way. I actually really enjoy this one. This one actually has like shmup levels when you're playing as the Batmobile, which is kind of cool that the Super Nintendo one does not have, at least in the form that they are here. So it's really fun. I really enjoy this one. The music is fantastic. The graphics are really cool too, but I prefer the Super Nintendo version over it. That Famicom and Game Boy Jam have been seen other parts of this. Oh yeah. Batman. Batman was rainbow colored in one issue in the 60s, so purple Batman doesn't bother you. I had the action figure released by, Nika, when they're releasing all those video game styled action figures that they already had made figures of. They just released these like new painted versions. I had the Batman one where it was like purple and blue, and it looked freaking ridiculous. I had the Freddy Krueger one from the NES game. I had the Jason one that I got from San Diego Comic-Con. And I had the Contra ones. I had the ones of Stallone and Schwarzenegger that they repainted. And the one from Alien 3. Battle of Olympus. This is very much like playing Legend of Zelda 2 or Faxanadu. It is a side-scrolling adventure, like RPG light, I guess. Really, really fun. I mean, a lot of people give Legend of Zelda 2 shit. I don't, and that's probably one of the reasons why I like that one as much as I do. Got that at the Midwest Gaming Classic a couple of years ago. Battletoads. Couldn't afford this one when I got back into collecting. It was really expensive. So you're gonna see a lot of games in this collection that I'm gonna bring up this thing. Years ago, this was probably in 2014. Found a Facebook group called T-Scran Vagat was the abbreviation of it. It was an auction site or not an auction site. It was a raffle site where people would try to, like, they wanted to make some quick money. They would try to sell their NES games, but instead of just asking for a flat amount, you would buy raffle tickets for it. And depending on what kind of game it was, the raffle tickets could cost anywhere from between $2 to $5. And they were looking to sell so many before they would close the raffle off and then pick a winner. So you buy, I think I bought like three $3 tickets for this, and I ended up winning. So I got Battletoads complete in the box for $9. Really cool game. Everyone talks about how hard this game is. Yeah, it gets hard down the line, but you know what? I'm one of those random people that have absolutely no problem with that car scene. What's it called? The tunnel? Oh, I cannot remember the name of it. But the third level or whatever, when you're racing in that car and you have to do all the jumps, I don't have any problems with it. It never gave me any trouble. Like when the game finally showed up after I won it in that raffle, I played it and I beat that section on the first try. Turbo Tunnel, there it is. Thank you very much, Mosley. I could not remember that for the life of me. Just talking about that in Faxanity with somebody yesterday. Yeah, it's Battle of Olympus is actually really, really fun. And it's one of those games I always wanted when I was a kid, and I could never find it, or it was always too expensive, because usually I was saving my allowance, and sometimes I wouldn't even buy lunch at school. Like, my mom would give me like $3 to buy lunch at school, and I would just save the money and skip lunch, and at the end of the week I'd go and try to buy a game, and it was always right outside my price range. Beetlejuice was one of the games that I had on my list of games I was looking for at this year's MGC, and it was the first game that I found, and I got it for a whopping $20 when I always see it on eBay for like $60. Makes no sense. The game is fucking terrible. Terrible. That's by Rare, one of my favorite freaking developers out there, but man, they just threw that game together, and I cannot stand it. Although I do have a good time watching on Twitch, Bass Guy, he's in the Cartridge Club. He does like speed runs. He has like a couple of records, I guess, in a certain games, and he speed runs Beetlejuice. And I'm like, well, I watched you play it, so I don't have to play it. Bionic Commando, we all know Bionic Commando. Classic game. Platformer where you have like a hook shot attached to your hand, and you can swing around, and then you infamously blow Hitler's face up in a scene that I'm surprised Nintendo never censored. Blaster Master, another awesome Sunsoft game. Another one of those games that has two different play styles where you play as like a car going through all the tunnels, and then you also can get out of your car, and then you have these top-down Legend of Zelda on foot levels, which is really fun. Super hard game. I know I think I was watching Eugene stream this a while back. A lot of fun. Boy and His Blob. Trouble on Blobolonia. I always had a soft spot for this game. And there's actually like three games in this series. Yeah, I forgot about the Game Boy one. There's one for the Wii as well. It's like a remake of this by Way Forward, of all people. Way Forward, one of my favorite developers out there. The cool thing about this, it's a platform puzzler, and the puzzles come in the fact that you have this little alien blob with you, and you feed him jelly beans. And each jelly bean, you have like 10 or 12 flavors. Each flavor of jelly bean will turn the blob into a different object you need to solve a puzzle. Like, one might turn him into a ladder, one might turn him into a trampoline, one might turn him into an umbrella that you need to, jump off of a ledge, and it'll help you drift down to another one. It's really, really fun and challenging. It's all about trial and error, but I love it. I love this ever since it first came out. It was one of those games that I got for Christmas one year. Didn't ask for it. Was kind of disappointed that I didn't get Batman or whatever the hell it was, but was pleasantly surprised when I actually played it. Blam! Bram Stoker's Dracula. This one is... I'm thinking, along with all of these Diamond in the Rough videos that I'm going to be doing coming up. I just did that Genesis one. I'm going to do one about licensed games as well, like licensed game Diamonds in the Rough. This is going to be on that list. There's a Super Nintendo version of this. There's a Genesis version. There's a Sega CD. I think there's one for the Game Gear. This one is different from a lot of the other ones because this one is like playing Castlevania, I want to say is a comparable thing. Actually, you know what? When I was playing this, there was an emulator that used to be on Facebook that had NES games on it. I used to play it at work all the time, and this was one of the games I played a lot. It reminded me of Mario Brothers for some reason, but it's a platformer that is really, really fun. And yes, it has this Dracula license, and I know a lot of the games in the series, especially the Sega CD one, is not very good. But this one is actually really, really fun, and I really enjoy it. It plays Jonathan Harker, and you butt stomp the ground in order to get to these underground areas. Like, you actually have to like jump up in the air and then hit down. You like butt stomp the ground to break the tiles so you can go down there. It's really, really fun. Bubble Bobble puzzle game, arcade port. Everybody knows Bubble Bobble. There's a sequel to this that is super freaking expensive that I will never own, but at least I got the first one. Bub and Bob are freaking adorable. We can all agree on that. Here's one that reminds me a lot of Forgotten Worlds on the Genesis, and that's Burai Fighter. It's like a vertical scrolling shmup where you play as a dude with a laser gun flying around, and you can shoot in different directions, which is what reminds me of Forgotten Worlds. It's really fun. I like the developer or the publisher Taxon. I had a thing for Taxon games when I was a kid. I liked 90% of the games that I picked up from them. Some of them will be on my NES Diamonds in the Rough video. Here's another one of the repros I got from Nintendo 64, Burnin' Twinbee. This is from a Famicom Disk System game. But the thing is, after I bought it, I was like, oh, I think this is Stinger for the NES. We did get this over here, but I'm assuming this is the authentic Japanese one and not some version that was like bastardized when it came over to the US. So, yeah. It's a shmup. It's a cute 'em up. It's okay. Beetlejuice must have been a hasty cash grab license. It was. It has more to do with the cart. Well, it doesn't really have anything to do with anything Beetlejuice, but to me it felt like it was more based off of the cartoon than the movie, but it still sucked. Bubble Bobble is a beloved part of my childhood. Yes, Bubble Bobble is an awesome game. My friend Justin, that I post about on Facebook, I post stuff that I do with him all the time on Facebook. I just knocked all my games down. Ah, shit. Well, things are going to be out of order now. Deal with it. What was I talking about? Oh, he's obsessed with Bubble Bobble, and it's like his favorite game. So for my birthday one year, I made gifts for all the people that were coming to my little get-together, and I made little perler art video game characters for everybody based on a game that I knew they liked. And for him, I made like a Bub and a Bob. Okay, this is the last game in the seas that you're probably going to see for a little while. Captain America and the Avengers. I found this at a local store down the street. Super cheap compared to what I see it for on eBay all the time. But this is, I want to say it was developed by the same people that made the G.I. Joe games for the NES. Because it feels and plays exactly the same. But it's a side-scrolling platformer. And it is really, really fun. You get to play as Captain America, Iron Man, Hawkeye, and Vision. It is not a port of the arcade game. The only places that got the arcade ports were the Super Nintendo and the Genesis. And the Genesis one is the only one that is worth a damn. Shit. They everywhere. Contra. Captain Algebra's thing is Super C. But I love Contra. This was one of the first games we got with my Nintendo when my parents and my grandmother got together to buy my brother and I an NES for Christmas, whatever year it was, I think 89. And this was the first game we got, and we played the living shit out of it because it is fantastic. And I don't think I beat it. It took me like a year to beat it because I didn't know anything about the 30 lives code. So I was stuck doing the 3 lives, and I kept on saying to that was where I got my saying from that I say when I was streaming video games on Twitch was just because I like video games doesn't mean I'm good at video games because I sucked at that game. I'm good at it now. Now I can beat it. It's not a big deal. Chrysalis. I love this game. It's a adventure light RPG-ish stuff going on in it. It looks like Legend of Zelda, and I assume this was a response to The Legend of Zelda to try to capitalize on that type of an adventure game. But the music in this game is fantastic, and it's got its own thing going on. I mean, it looks like The Legend of Zelda, and it plays a little bit like Legend of Zelda, but it is not Legend of Zelda at all. It's not like, what was that, Golden Axe Warrior, where it was a direct rip-off of it, but it is... Crystallis is awesome, and I do believe it's available on the Switch NES thing that they have, that NES library they have online now. Oh, this piece of crap right here. Darkman. I was really looking forward to buying this game. I talked about it in the pickup video that I did when I got this. I've always wanted this game. Never had it when I was a kid. I love the movie Darkman. I think it's fantastic. So I was really looking forward to getting a copy of this. I had like a bonus that I get from work at the beginning of every year. And I was like, yes, I'm going to get that Darkman game. I'm going to find a copy of it really cheap and I'm going to buy it. And I did. And it is terrible. It is awful. It's a side-scrolling platformer, beat-em-up type game. But as with all Ocean games, I don't know why, but for some reason when they design their games, they make all of the platforms that you play on, it's almost like every one of them is made out of ice. Characters control like ass. It is impossible to land jumps in this game. It is impossible to gauge jumps. It is like your characters are way too big for the game, and they have way too big a hitbox, and you're constantly taking damage, and it just is terrible. I was so mad at myself for getting so excited for that game, and then when I finally played, I was like, Golden Axe Warrior is awesome. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I got the Game Boy port in a lot. Oh, Timber. Yeah, first one is great. Second is okay. Third one was definitely a movie. Which one are you talking about here? Oh, Darkman. Darkman, yeah. I was working at that video store when the sequels to Darkman came out. We watched them in the store, and I was just kind of like, no. Although I got to see what B'Elanna Torres looked like, from Star Trek Voyager, what she looked like without her makeup on in the third Darkman movie. Darkwing Duck. Got this at a half-price books. It was in the case for $100. They have like their little expensive game case. And I had a bag full of DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that I did not want anymore. And I sold it at the half-price books. Got this basically for selling all those things. I had almost the exact amount I needed. I think I paid $3 for this out of pocket. It's a side-scrolling platformer. Reminds me a little bit of Darkman, except you have like this hook playstyle thing that you can do where there's like things that are hanging or like light posts or whatever, and in order to platform you have this like hook that you can grab things with so you can jump across chasms and stuff like that. Honestly, I don't like this game very much. I played it for a while when I first bought it and I just could not get into it. I never watched the cartoon either, so I didn't have any kind of a connection to the cartoon, so I wasn't like, oh, this game is going to bring back all the feels and all the memories. No, I never watched Darkwing Duck. At that point, by the time that cartoon came on the air, I was way too old to be watching like those after-school cartoons. Dash Galaxy and the Alien Asylum. Got this at half-price books. It complete in box for $5. And I don't think I've played this one yet because I'm looking at the back of it and it does not look familiar. So I don't even know if the cartridge works. But it looks like a platformer. Whatever. This game is another hunk of flamin' shite. Deadly Towers. This was the game that, when I first watched somebody play an NES, I was so excited to see what this game had to hold. Because, I mean, look at that cover. It's like Conan-esque, I guess, It's like fantasy style. I'm like, that looks rad as hell. Let's play that. And then I played it, and I was like, let's put a different game in. It's like this top-down adventure game, and it controls like crap. It's just garbage. It is absolute garbage. DWDTG? What? Oh, Darkwing Duck? Yeah, I don't think I've played that one yet. I bought it probably a little over a year ago. I probably need to play it. I do need to play it. I own the game. I should probably play it. Got this at Midwest Gaming Classic, I think in year 3, the third year that I went, and it's Deja Vu. This is a text adventure game that's in the vein of Shadowgate and The Uninvited. That's also released by Kemco Sieca. This one is like noir. This one's like playing through a detective story, and it is a lot of fun. I love Shadowgate. Shadowgate on the NES was my jam. I played the crap out of that all the time, and I always wanted these other games that were kind of like in this, I don't know if it's like an unofficial series, But, you know, they're of the same type, and I always wanted it, never could get it, never got uninvited. Definitely not getting uninvited now. It's super expensive. But this game is fantastic, and now I can play all three of those games together on the 8-bit anthology thing that I got from, Limited Run Games. They released, like, all three of those games on one disc for the PlayStation 4. Yeah, Shadowgate is my jam. Shadowgate, I played the shit out of that. That was one of those games I got. I think I got that for like Easter one year. And that was one of those times where I got a game and I was like very happy that I got it because I remember going like, I watched a friend of mine play it for a little while and I was like, that's fantastic. I want that. And then it showed up. Whew! Demon Sword. I always felt that this was a sequel to The Legend of Kage on the NES because it plays exactly the same. It's almost the same game. A little bit different. But everything about it is exactly the same. You know, the play style, the way the game plays, the way the graphics look and everything. And it's a lot of fun. You play as this, I don't know if you're playing as Kage. Your character can jump fucking 3 stories tall. It's an action beat 'em up. Oh man, these games just keep falling over. Double Dragon. Double Dragon 2. And Double Dragon 3. Beat 'em ups. You know all about them. Do I need to talk about them? Double Dragon 1 is good. Double Dragon 2 is awesome. Double Dragon 3 is doo-doo. Princess Tomato and Salad Kingdom. Yes, Princess Tomato. That's another one that I've always wanted. But my friend had it. And I would always, when he told me like at school the next day, he's like, oh, I bought that Princess Tomato game last night. I was like, the hell is wrong with you? But I remember watching him play and going like, that looks kind of cool, surprisingly, you know. Dr. Mario, it's a puzzle game. He plays Mario. He's a drug addict. He throws pills at you, trying to get you to take the same shit. He wants to get you high. Something like that. Castellian, I got this at last year's Midwest Gaming Classic. And this was one of those games I always wanted to play. I always wanted to rent it. But never could. Because I remember everyone saying that the graphics were fantastic because it had this cool thing where you play as this little frog pig thing and you're climbing up these castle spire things. And the thing is, since you have to do it, you know, horizontally, the spire spins as you do it. And it's like kind of a new thing for an NES game that's got this cool like rotational thing going on. And yes, when you see it happening, it's fantastic. It's just that the game itself does not play very well. So I was kind of disappointed by that. Flying Dragon, The Secret Scroll. This is part beat 'em up and part fighting game. And when you get to the fighting game, it turns into like this really weird technical thing where you have to hit your characters that you're playing up against in specific areas, and like it'll light up on the screen where you need to hit them. Like you need to hit him in the knee, you need to hit him in the head, you need to hit him in the chest. And it's really, really fun. Culture Brain like released like a whole series of these. There's another one. Flying Warriors, I think, and that one is like all about like technical fighting. It's really strange, but it was different, and that's why I liked it back in the day. Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th was last Friday. Maybe I should have done this video then. No. Everyone gives this game shit. I really enjoy it. Yes, the map is confusing as hell, but I don't care because yeah, there were no zombies. Well, I guess you count Tina's dad as a zombie in part 7. Yeah, there were no zombies in these movies. There were no bats. There was no enemies to fight other than Jason and maybe his mom. But I enjoyed it. It's a really cool, I guess call it an action game or whatever. But like I really like that when you go into the cabins, it turns into like a third person over the shoulder view, and you can fight Jason that way as well as fighting him in the platforming levels or the side scrolling levels. I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of cool, even though Jason's mother's head turns into freaking Medusa. Gargoyles Quest 2. This was a blockbuster game, apparently. Got this at the Midwest Gaming Classic this past year. Got a deal on it. Really happy that I did so because I've really gotten into the Gargoyles games. I got the one for the Game Boy, which is fantastic. This one is part action game, part platformer, and part RPG. And the cool thing is because Firebrand here is part of the Ghouls and Ghosts or Ghosts and Goblins universe, characters that you ran into in those games or that you fought in those games are characters that you can interact with in the RPG section. So like the first thing you do in this game is you're like in your main castle and you're talking to your king, and it's the guy that you fight at the end of Ghosts and Goblins who's sitting on the throne. It's fantastic. It just kind of expands the world, and it's a fun as hell game too. I love it. I was so glad to get my hands on it. Shit! These games are everywhere! No! Conquest of the Crystal Palace. Now, this is a game. A friend of mine had this back in the day, and I absolutely loved it. Actually, we got picked on because of this game. We took a bus. My friend Gary and I took a bus to the local mall because he wanted to get this. We got it, and while we're waiting for the bus at the mall to take us back home, these like guys who were like 5 years older than us were like just standing around waiting for the bus too, and they just started picking on us for no reason because they were douches. So they're like, they saw that Gary had a bag in his hand. They're like, "What'd you buy there?" And he's like, "Oh, I bought a Nintendo game." "What'd you buy?" "Conquest of the Crystal Palace." "What are you, a pussy?" He's like, "You should be buying Contra or something like that," because this sounded too fantasy oriented for some people, I guess. But it's a fantastic game. It's a side-scrolling platformer action game. The music is really catchy. I love it. The graphics are cool. The bosses are freaking huge, dude. I mean, look at that bottom screen. I mean, look at that stuff. It's a great game. I love this one a lot. And because I had a habit, like when those dudes were picking at us at that bus stop, I had a habit back then. It was when I would get stressed or I felt uncomfortable, I would just like, it wasn't like Tourette's. I don't have Tourette's. But I would just like say, "Fuck you," or something like that. I would just say something really nasty. And my friend Gary knew that I would say something like that when these guys turned their attention to me. And he didn't want to get our asses beat. So he goes, the guy says, "What about you, little man?" Because I was standing right next to him. And my friend Gary goes, "Don't talk to him. He's deaf." So I just looked at him like, "What?" And then he goes like go along with it. And I went like, "Yeah, he forgot his hearing aids today." Yeah, it was weird. I got stories. All the systems are tricky for me, but I want to be good at them one day. Crystal Palace looks like a dope Proto Power metal cover. Yeah, no shit. I mean, look at that. That's fantastic. Except for the weird dog in the robot suit down here. But that's a good game. I mean, that might go on my Diamonds in the Rough video for the NES. We got Excite Bike, which is one of the original black box games. I never had this back in the day, but I used to play this on the Play Choice 10 all the time, and I thought it was fantastic. And it was good for playing it in those small doses, because those were always timed. I think you were able to play them for like 10 minutes, I think, before it would reset on you. And I thought that was a great amount of time to play something like a game like this. What it didn't give you time to do was play the create a map function that the game had, which I always thought was great. This is a Famicom Disk System in Japan, and I don't know if it has that create a map functionality or not. But I was planning on picking it up for the Famicom Disk System just for shits and giggles. Here's a repro that I got from the Video Game Database, or the VGDB, and it is Earthbound Beginnings, or Mother, from Japan, if you're in Japan. We never got this game over here. We did get the sequel. We got Mother 2, which was known as Earthbound, which is why this is called Earthbound Beginnings. And it's a RPG where you play as a bunch of kids going on an adventure, and there's like alien stuff going on. I haven't played this yet. It's still actually wrapped, completely wrapped. And I wanted to wait until I got all 3 of the games. And I do have all 3 of the games now. I have no excuse. But I was watching, I can't remember his name. There's a retro streamer on, Argus, on Twitch, and he was streaming that for the longest time, and I was watching him play it. I'm like, I'm glad I own that game. Oh, God, I gotta pick some of these up off the floor. Come here. Come here. There you go. Okay, so I was talking about these earlier. So we got G.I. Joe and G.I. Joe the Atlantis Factor. That Captain America and the Avengers game is, honestly, it feels like it belongs in with these 2 games. It plays almost exactly the same. But the first one of these 2 G.I. Joe games is my favorite. This one right here. Excuse me, I need to get a drink of something. It's a side-scrolling platformer action game, and you get to pick as, like, I think 5 or 6 different G.I. Joes. I know I always pick Snake Eyes. But you really need to pick wisely, because certain characters have certain abilities that will help you get through each level better than others will. There's also all of the vehicles that you remember as a kid are in here somewhere, and you can play around in them, you can mess around, and it's awesome. That stupid little buzz drill thing that General Grievous was driving around in Revenge of the Sith is in here. You can play in that, and there's oh god, I can't even remember. It's been so long since I last played this. It's a fantastic game. Don't get me wrong, it is awesome. The second one is almost exactly the same. It's just more of it, and this, for some reason, Capcom released it. Texan released this one, but Capcom released this one. It's more of the same. It plays exactly the same. Different G.I. Joes to play as is the only real difference. We got the DuckTales. I had this game back in the day. It was one of my favorite games because it was one of my favorite cartoons. And love the shit out of it. It's still a classic game. The remake is awesome, too. The one by WayForward that everyone's going batshit crazy over lately because they took the digital version off all those digital shops for all the consoles. But nothing beats the original. I mean, you can't. I mean, it's fantastic. It was perfect. Never played the second one, though. Never going to own that because it's like $1.5 million to own it nowadays. Okay, I got to pick some of these up over here. God damn. Come here. Come here. Shit. Okay. Codename Viper. Capcom should have been sued over this, I always say. This is a complete and total rip-off of Rolling Thunder. It is the exact same game, almost. The graphics are almost the same. The gameplay is exactly the same. Except there's more areas where you're out in the open instead of running through areas where there's like doors that you can go in and out of. There's like areas where you're in the forest and all that kind of stuff, but you can hide in the bushes. But yeah, this is exactly the same as any of those Rolling Thunder games. It's good. I enjoy it. I'm just surprised that no one ever said anything back in the day about how much of a ripoff this is. But I enjoy it. We got Commando. This is a top-down action game. I think this is a port of an arcade game. Does it say anything about it being an arcade game on here? I don't think so. Super Joe. It's okay. I forgot that a lot of these NES games had like a punch tab for hanging this on like a hook at a store on the box. And a lot of the games that I have that have those hooks on it, the ones I get are never punched. I got really lucky. But it's a good game. Good thing you invested in box protector. I know, right? These things are all over the fucking place. I'm cursing a lot more than I usually do. It's probably because I'm tired. Another well, we're talking about box protectors. Well, guess what? This one broke. Poor Cobra Triangle! You were so young and beautiful! Anyway. Cobra Triangle is this awesome racing game that is almost like playing RC Pro-Am because it was developed by Rare, just like RC Pro-Am is, except this one's all about boat racing. And it is awesome. Everyone talks shit about like it being a stupid name. I don't care. Look at that. I mean, if you like RC Pro-Am, you're going to like this. It's almost the exact same thing. You got jumps. You got whirlpools you got to avoid. I don't remember if there's combat in here like there is in RC Pro-Am where you have like the rockets you can fire. Because I play this a little bit. I don't play this as much as I play RC Pro-Am. But I enjoy it. Eliminator Boat. I don't own Eliminator Boat Duel. Oh, did I just give away a spoiler? Clash of Demon Head. Who likes Scott Pilgrim versus the World? Because that's where that title of Scott's evil ex-girlfriend, their band name came from, is this game right here. And it's actually pretty cool. It's like it's a platformer, but it's kind of different in the fact that you can actually pick where you go. You are given choices to what level you want to go to. There's an overworld map, kind of like you would get in like Mario 3, and you can pick where you want to go, but you always have like different options, and it's kind of cool the way it works. I like it a lot, and it's a fun game. The characters are really strange. The art style is kind of cool. I like it a lot. It was one of the more expensive games I bought early on when I started collecting again in 2014, but it was worth the effort because I enjoyed it a lot. Ghosts and Goblins is another one of these games that has that punch tab that was never punched. Like I said, I got really lucky. I got like all of them like that. This game is super fucking hard. Those diverging past dough. Ghosts and Goblins is super hard. I like it. I beat it on the first playthrough. I absolutely refuse to play it on a second playthrough. I mean, at that point, I'm just like, F this game. I'm done. But it's cool for a horror game playthrough in October. If you're going to be doing horror video game streaming in October, I'm pretty sure that's when everybody's going to be playing. Which is why Captain Algebra hates when you bring up that game. Okay, we got Gauntlet 1 and Gauntlet 2. 1 was by Tengen, and 1 was released by my most hated developer or publisher ever, Mindscape. I'll talk about that when I get to Mad Max in the next video. If you have not seen it was one of the earliest videos I released on this channel. I highly recommend you go and watch my Mad Max rant video, because I don't want to repeat myself if I don't have to. But yeah, go and watch my Mad Max rant. You'll know why I don't like Mindscape as a publisher at all. But yeah, Gauntlet and Gauntlet 2 are the first one I know is an arcade port. I don't know if Gauntlet 2 ever came out in the arcade, but whatever. It's more of the same, except this one actually has the 4-player functionality that this one was lacking. But the weird thing about this is that for some reason Tengen, about halfway through their life, before they went bankrupt or whatever, they were making those weird black cartridges, and then they decided we're going to start making regular cartridges. I got the regular cartridge version. I always wanted the black one, but I didn't get it. I'm sad now. Not really. It's the same damn game, just a different cartridge. And now for some reason I can't get this box closed. Damn you! Close. You freaking... there you go. But it's like one of the earliest dungeon crawler games out there. And it's fantastic. I still... Like, Gauntlet 4 on the Genesis is like one of my all-time favorite games. It is fantastic. Okay, I gotta go pick up some more of these games over here. Oh, wow. They're like all the way on the other side of the room. Jesus! Don't worry! I have not left you! Ow! That was my foot. Eat a bag of dicks. Anyway. I have a couple of the black Tengen cartridges. Yeah, Ghosts and Goblins is overrated. I mean, that's the one thing. I wish as many horror games as there are out there, why does everybody pick Ghosts and Goblins? I don't get it. I mean, I like it. It's a great game. It's just, it is definitely overplayed. Super Joe's caught and has to be rescued by a command. Oh yeah, I forgot that's what you're after. Wow. Thanks, Cabot. You are a wealth of gaming knowledge, sir. Faxanadu. This was one of the games I was talking about when I was talking about Battle for Olympus. This owes a lot to Zelda 2. I need a drink real quick. It's an adventure game. Really, really fun. This is a second-party game. Nintendo released it, but Hudson, of all people, developed it. And I don't know if this was before they did Adventure Island or not, because they have their own, production company. I don't know why Nintendo released one of their games for them. Don't ask me why. But it's really, really fun. The Renaissance was streaming this recently, and I was talking about Bass Guy, who was speedrunning Beetlejuice. He speedruns this as well. But it's really, really cool game. You're like this dude, and you're trying to, bring water back to the World Tree or something like that. But it's a really fun, like, adventure type style game. I really recommend it. Fist of the North Star, or as we know, or as it's known in Japan, it's Hokuto no Ken over there. This is, of all the games in this series, because there were like 4 of these games released for the NES, or for the Famicom in Japan, they brought the worst one over here. I mean, this it's okay, there's cool stuff in it, but I've played a lot of the other games that were based on this license, because this is based off of a manga that turned into an anime movie, that got turned into a television series, that got turned into a really crappy American-made live-action film. I played all the other ones through emulators, and this is the worst one out of the 4 for the Famicom. I don't know why this is the one they picked. If they did pick the other ones, or one of the other ones, it would have probably been a big thing over here. But as it is, it's a side-scrolling platformer beat-em-up style game. And not a very good one at that. Felix the Cat. This is another one of the games I won on that raffle site I was talking about. I cannot remember the name of it. T-Scran Vigat was the abbreviation. But this was one of them. I didn't really want the game, but I did it like on a lark because the tickets were only $2 each. So I bought like 3 tickets and I won. And so therefore I got this game, which goes for well over $100 complete in the box. I got it for $6. But it's a really cute side-scrolling platformer that it's really hard to die. Like it's for kids. And it's just easy to play, and it's one of those games that when you just want to relax and play something and don't have to stress about anything, you just pop that one in and you just have a good time. And I've done that many, many times. Fester's Quest. This is one of those lightning rods I hate licensed games, and I absolutely love this game. Yes, the weapons kind of piss me off as well, as I know they piss everybody else off. But this is based off of the Addams Family, obviously. You play as Uncle Fester, and it's a top-down Legend of Zelda style game, but I mean, it's open. I mean, you're in the streets, you're in the sewers, you're in an alien spaceship at the end. And yes, it's really cool. I love the whip weapon thing that you get. And the boss fights are cool and all that. It's just like the music is fantastic, but the weapons, it's just the way some of the levels are designed. When you're firing your weapon, you don't get the range that you're supposed to get because it'll like be hitting the walls and it won't go through the wall. It'll just end at the wall and you'll end up taking a lot of damage. And it's like a one-hit kill situation in here, which really pisses me off sometimes. You'll be on a roll thinking you're going to beat the game, and then someone just randomly comes out of nowhere and whoops your ass and game over. Final Fantasy, I forgot how heavy this box is because this has everything in it, like the map and all that shit. The instruction booklet is pretty big. So, I was not big into RPGs back in the day. My friend, I had played Dragon Warrior, and Dragon Warrior was my only real... only RPG I actually played from like beginning to end. My dad was really into the Ultimate games. I enjoyed watching my dad play those more than I did playing them because just the type that like my dad had to map everything out. That's how complicated those games were. So when Final Fantasy came out, my friend Gary, Bus Stop Gary, got this and invited me over to see what the game was like so I could see it. And I was not impressed. I was like, you know what? I'll just stick with my Dragon Warrior. Thanks. Not realizing how big this would end up becoming in the U.S. He ended up getting Final Fantasy II, Part 4, later on, and watching him play that got me interested in RPGs all over again. But that's a story for another time. But this is a classic RPG. I've never actually beaten the NES version. The only version of this game I have beaten is the one that came out for the Game Boy Advance. What was it? Final Fantasy 1 and 2, Dawn of Souls or something? That's where I beat the game. I never beat the actual NES game. But speaking of Dragon Warrior, here it is. One of the first RPGs I remember playing on the NES, or the only one I did play back then. I really enjoy this game. Now it is overly simplistic. I really need to get the other games in this series. You have no idea how much I want to play Part 4, because Nintendo used to talk about how like you had 4 different characters that you play as in that, and then like each one has its own separate game to it, and then they all come together at the end and their storylines converge. I really want to play that to try it out. Dragon Spirit. A lot of people have been streaming this one lately, and for good reason. It's actually a really fun game. I also have the TurboGrafx 16 version, which is better, but it more closely resembles the arcade game that it's based on. And this is a shmup, a vertically scrolling shmup where you play as a dragon. Power-ups you get will give you more heads, will make your fireballs bigger, will make you shoot in the spread shot. You can also bomb things, so not only are you shooting things out of the air, you're shooting things on the ground, and that's where your power-ups come from. There's like these, I always called them Skittles. These blue and red like egg things that are on the ground that you can bomb will release a power-up for you, and I always just called them the Skittles. I don't know why, but oh my god, it's a great game. Oh, Shelly! How's it going, Shondo? Glad that you're here. Game Boy Port isn't bad. Dawn of Souls is my first time too. Felix is solid. Yeah, it is. I mean, Felix the cat is, like, on the surface, it just looks like this child game, but you play it and it's just really relaxing because there's really nothing in it that'll kill you unless you're really bad at games, like I am. PS1, Dawn was second. Oh, PS1, I have the PS1s also, hipster voice. I uploaded Dragon Spirit gameplay footage before it was cool. Yeah, I did a review of that. Actually, that's what's weird. Okay, so I don't know. I've had like this influx all of a sudden of subscribers, and people are going back and watching all my old videos. And one of the first videos I did was a review of Dragon Spirit, and that's gotten a lot of attention lately. Like I'll get emails saying from YouTube saying someone has commented on your Dragon Spirit review. I'm like, what? Like that video is like over 5 years old. People are still watching my old stuff when I still hadn't gotten used to the way this works, which is weird. Anyway, Castlevania 1 and 2. Classic games. Here's another one. Castlevania had one of those hang tabs and it was never punched. Castlevania, classic game, classic side-scrolling action game, horror themed. Why more people don't stream these games for Halloween, I don't know. But Castlevania 2 is like another one of those you either love it or you hate it style games. I love it even though it's cryptic as hell. If I did not have a subscription to Nintendo Power back when this was released, I probably would never have beaten this game the first time around. Where do you learn that you have to hold that, what is it, the white ball or whatever it is, or one of those items that you have, and kneel in that one corner to get that tornado, to summon the tornado that takes you away to the next section? I would never have in a million years have thought that that's exactly what I needed to do. But you did, and yeah. But I think the music in this one is probably some of the best in the Castlevania series. I have it on vinyl, the soundtrack, and it is fantastic. And as an adventure game, it's really, really cool, but I just wish it was a little bit less cryptic. But don't forget, Nintendo was the era when sequels didn't play by the rules. Sequels did not have to be the exact same game all over again. You know, you got Mario Brothers, and compare that to Mario Brothers 2. They're completely different. You got Castlevania, and that Castlevania 2 is completely different. You know, you got Zelda 1 and Zelda 2. They're completely different. They're not alike at all. Which I think was a good idea, because if I think they kept releasing games in like a multiple game series that were basically just the same game, just slightly upgraded, kind of like the way the Donkey Kong Country games were for the Super Nintendo, people might have gotten burnt out on these series and they never would have been as popular as they were. But it's cool that people are still talking about this game to this day. Like, I know Hungry Garaya just streamed that, and the Renaissance just streamed that not too long ago. Thank you. Somebody agrees with me. That's awesome. Red Crystal. That's it. I remember it was one of those, like the crystal ball or something like that you had to grab. It's been a while since I've actually played through it. Dino Wars. The Destruction of Spondylus. I know Captain Algebra played this one not too long ago, and it's a cool game. I enjoy it. It's fun. It can get frustrating. Okay, so you play as a robot dinosaur in like these side-scrolling. I don't know. It's not like a beat 'em up. It's like Contra, like a side-scrolling action game. And then you can get out of your dinosaur and you're on foot, and those sections expand so your character isn't this tall on screen. You actually become normal size. Those sections are hard because, like, the enemy placements are frustrating as hell, because there's sometimes you just get pinned down and you can't do anything about it. But it's a fun game. I enjoy it. It doesn't get talked a lot. This might show up on my Diamonds in the Rough NES list. Never promise anything. Dino Crisis. Well, I have all three of them. I'm surprised that they haven't, like, they've remade the Resident Evil games. I'm surprised they haven't remade at least the first Dino Crisis to see if there's still an audience out there for it. I mean, how better to gauge if a franchise is still viable? Release a remaster or a remake or whatever. Re-release it on, like, the PlayStation Network and see if people buy it. Godzilla, Monster of Monsters. This was a game I had back in the day. This was one of those games I asked for and I actually got, surprisingly. It's a side-scrolling, I guess you can consider it a beat-em-up. You play as either Godzilla or Mothra, and you're on these different planets. It actually has like a chess sort of board. Like, there's an overworld thing where it's like a chessboard, and you move your piece of your character, and there's also a boss character that you have to fight that's kind of moving towards you also. And you play through all these different levels, powering your character up, and then you have your boss fight once you reach them. And you fight, like Gigan and Mechagodzilla and all them. It's fun. It's also frustrating because there's so much stuff being thrown at you on the levels where you're just, like, trying to level your character up that it gets, like, I remember getting frustrated as hell playing it as a kid. But the good thing is, lots of health being thrown at you also. So yes, you're taking a lot of damage, but you're also able to heal back up, so you can keep progressing. I enjoy it. I know there's a sequel. I've never played the sequel for the NES. I don't know if it's anything like this one or not. I have not tried it. Here's one of my favorite games. Another one that got by the censors at the Nintendo, surprisingly, and that is Golgo 13 Top Secret Episode. It's a side-scrolling spy game. He plays Duke Togo, right here, who had a movie called The Professional based off of him. I guess it was based on a bunch of mangas. And the game itself isn't all that great. It's actually really clunky. The sequel, The Mayfak Conspiracy, is actually a lot better. But this game has the sexy time going on in it. There's parts where you'll meet a contact who's a female, and you'll take her up to your hotel room, and you'll give her the romancing. And there is like a shot of like the hotel that you're in, and you can see like the window that they're in, and you see like the lights on. You see the characters naked, kind of like walking to each other, and then the lights turn out. And you're like, oh, they're going to do it. They're going to get it. And there's also a lot of blood in here, too. There's like these levels where you're sniping, where you're actually looking through a sniper scope, and you have to like snipe people, and blood will shoot out the back of their head if you hit them. So I really enjoyed this game because I remember back in the day when I was playing this, my friend Gary had this, and I watched him play through it. I remember going like, wow, I feel like we're getting away with something. Like we're watching like a softcore porn movie or something like that. And it was nothing like that, but I remember feeling like, wow, if our parents find out that there's stuff like this in this game, you think they take it away? But the sequel is a better game, a much better game. Okay, here's a repro I got from Time Walk Games before they shut their doors. I was only able to get 3 games from Time Walk Games before they shut down. And it was really sad because they had a lot of stuff on their website that I wanted. And like, just as I got back into collecting and found them, they shut their doors, which kind of sucked. But luckily I got a couple of games from them. One of them was Goonies. I actually did an unboxing of this. It was one of the earlier videos that I did on my channel. Check it out if you feel like it. I remember playing this in the arcade. In junior high, we went on a trip to Washington. No, was it Washington? No, it was to Springfield, Illinois. And the hotel that we stayed in had a pool like in the lobby, and there was like arcade games that surrounded the pool. And this was in the Play Choice 10. And I was always wondering why, when we got Goonies 2 over here, I assumed that it would be this, and it wasn't. It was a completely different game. So I'm like, is that supposed to be a sequel to the movie? Or is that a sequel to that thing that I played in the arcade? And it turned out it was a sequel to this. For some reason, Japan got it, but we didn't. But it is a platformer. It's actually kind of fun. I really like it. It plays Mikey, and you're going around collecting keys, taking out the Fratellis. The Fratellis! And it's really cool. It's just really simple. It's like an early NES game. It's like something that would have been a black box game for the NES. Soon. Hey, you guys. No, my Goonies saying back in the day was always Rocky Road. Anyway, I digress. Goonies 2, we're just talking about this. Goonies 2 is one of the most cryptic games out there. This game pisses me off. I like it. I like that it's trying to do something different. And it's nothing like... I mean, it looks like the original Goonies game, but it plays absolutely nothing like it. Because this one has a high like... I keep on wanting to say the word adventure. There's more exploration in this, let's say. There was that NES player's guide that you could buy that we did have back in the day when I was a kid, and you needed it to play this because there's these rooms you can go in that'll take you to a whole other area, and they link to other areas, and like keeping track of where you are in relation to all the other areas that are connected to it is like, it'll make your brain explode the more you think about it. Watching Phil Twerpin stream this not too long ago, I was sitting there like having flashbacks about how mad I would get at this game playing it as a kid. But I still enjoy it. I mean, this is a nostalgia game for me, even though I don't think it's like as good as I did back then. I want to talk about a game that I loved back in the day. This was the first game I got for I got this for the NES. No, my brother got this for the NES. God, memory, you're failing me. Gremlins 2: The New Batch. What was the game that I said that I got when he got this? Oh, a Styanax. Yeah, I got a Styanax. My brother got Gremlins 2. I ended up playing this more than my brother ever did, though. But it's a fantastic action game. It's a top-down platformer, but You play as Gizmo. The weapons you get are adorable. You start off with, what is it? A paper clip? No, you start off with tomatoes. And then you get like a paper clip, and then you get a match that shoots like fire and all that. And you end up taking out the different gremlins that show up in the movie. Like you fight the one that smokes the cigars, and the final boss is that spider-legged gremlin. The music is fantastic. The graphics are great. The gameplay is awesome. This is one of the best licensed games, as far as I'm concerned, ever. It's very reminiscent of the movie. It reminds you about the movie. It takes everything about the movie that was great and puts it in the game. And on top of that, it plays really well. So, Gremlins 2, awesome game. If you don't own it, get it! Guardian Legend, never owned this back in the day. My friend Charlie did. And it's another one of those games that's like two different play styles. One is like a top-down Legend of Zelda style adventure game where you play as this, like, I think it's a girl? It's kind of like the top-down sections from Blaster Master, actually. And the others, it's a shmup. It's a vertically scrolling shmup. And they are really, really fun. Both of them are combined into a really good game. And I remember watching Charlie play this all the time as a kid and thinking that it was fantastic. Never got a copy of it back then. I can never find it. But when I got it as an adult, it surprises me how well this holds up. Heavy Barrel, I think this is a port of an arcade game, but this is another one of those top-down action games that's kind of like Commando. This one's by Data East instead. Yeah, top arcade hit. Never saw this in the arcades ever, but it's actually really fun. It reminds me a lot of Jackal. Except without the Jeep. You're on foot. But then we got Jackal here. Got this in the Midwest Gaming Classic this past year. It's a really, really fun game that's very arcadey. You play as this army jeep that shoots... You start off with a machine gun. You can get an upgrade to shoot missiles that the more you upgrade them, the more the explosion will spread out and take more things out with it when they explode. It's awesome. What's up, Chum Nasty? How's it going? Oh, I love Gremlins 2. Gremlins is fantastic. This game, I still don't know what to think of it. We got Holy Diver. So I have the full box set that I got from Castlemania Games. It's sitting up there on my shelf, being displayed. But this was part of like a collector's set that comes with this game, Holy Diver, that, yes, is based off of the song by Dio, by Ronnie James Dio. The collector's set comes with a couple of pins and a little like 8-bit looking figurine and some postcards or something, and it comes in this really flashy looking cool box. The game itself is absolute insanity. This is one of the hardest games I have. I cannot get anywhere in it. I watched Megadan struggle with it, and Megadan doesn't really struggle with anything when he's playing games. Megadan struggled with this. I was watching him play this with Captain Algebra, I do believe, one time, and he was like getting frustrated as all hell. It's a side-scrolling platform action game that's kind of like playing Contra, but you use magic, and it's just... I want to like it, I really do. But it is so damn hard, it makes it hard to like. But, this was a game that people were just begging for getting released in the US, and it never was, but we finally got it, and it's not an official release, but, There's another licensed game, Hunt for Red October. It's okay. I love the movie. I never read the book. I love the movie. I saw the movie in the theater. It's a side-scrolling shmup where you play as the Red October, and you're shooting you're shooting like mines out of the ocean and all that, and it's okay. It just gets really repetitive really quickly because there's actually not a whole lot of variety in the levels and the enemies that you fight. But, it's okay. I wanted it because of the license. I love Hunt for Red October. It's one of my favorite films. Getting close to the end here, people. We're almost there. Hydlide, craptastic RPG. I got this for, I think, $10 complete in the box off of eBay. And that's about... I'm okay with spending that much money on this. It looks like a bad version of Dragon Warrior, and it plays like it also. It's not fun. There's a reason why the Angry Video Game Nerd whines about those games all the time. For me, the hype for Holy Diver was more fun than the game, but I'm at least... Yeah, I mean, I've tried playing Holy Diver at, I think since I got it 5 different times, and I still cannot get past that first level. It is just so freaking hard. Hunt for Red October. Yeah! There you go. Counter programming. Someone screen cap that. We got the ice hockey. The one with the small guy, the mid-sized guy, and the fat guy. It's okay. It's not as great as I remember it being back in the day. I wish I bought Blades of Steel instead of this at the Midwest Gaming Classic this year. That was pure nostalgia. Here's another one that everyone seems to dislike, and I really like it, but it's probably all based on nostalgia, and it's not because friggin' Fabio's on the cover, making your mama wet, which is the reason why everyone I knew had this game when I was a kid. It wasn't because you wanted the game, it was because your mom wanted to jack off to friggin' Fabio. Yeah, this is another game by Rare. It's an adventure game that's really cryptic as well. The thing is, it's all about memorization. And I watched the Renaissance stream this, and like he was hating it when he first started. He's like, I have absolutely no idea what I'm supposed to do in this game. But the more he played it, the more he started to understand it, the more he liked it. And that's pretty much the way I am too. Like when you start playing this game, you're like, what the hell? Like I'm just dying all the time. Once you get the hang of the way the game works, and it's like they have a path set out for you. You need to do it a specific way in order to win. And once you figure that out, you're good to go. And I really enjoy this one. It's not as good as the first game, but I really enjoy this one. The music, I think, is especially catchy. Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu. This one also had a port to the TurboGrafx 16, which is super freaking expensive. But this is a side-scrolling action game, beat-em-up type game, and it is really fun. The further you get in it, the more moves you unlock for Jackie Chan. And it's really cute. Like, Jackie Chan is like a super deformed version of himself. He's got this huge head, but it's really fun. Like, I got the game. I got the cartridge at a Kmart before they shut down. They were, like, selling all their stuff before they all shut. The one by my house back in my hometown when it was shutting down. And they were selling, like, they had, like, loose NES and Genesis and Super Nintendo carts that they were selling for, like, $5 each. They had, like, wrapped in plastic. I don't know why or where they got them from. But I remember one day they just started showing up in their case. And this was there, and I'd never seen this one in the wild. I'd never seen it before. I'd heard about it, but I'd never seen it. And I was like, oh, well, at least I can get the cartridge and try it out. And then when I got back into collecting, I was like, oh, yeah, I still have that Jackie Chan cartridge laying around somewhere. And I found the box and the manual online, and I completed it. And it is a really fun game. I was watching E.C. Myers stream this, Eugene, and he was even having a blast playing. He actually goes back to it when because he hadn't beaten it. He tried to beat it on stream. He couldn't do it. When he will finish a game earlier on a following stream, he'll usually go back and play this one, which pretty much shows that it's, someone's always going back to play it because they want to beat it. It shows that it's good. It's pretty cheap complete. Which one is pretty cheap? Jackie Chan? The box, I had to pay like a small fortune just for the box, but that was back in like 2014. Jaws, another lightning rod of hate from LJN. I love Jaws. Would I have liked to play as the shark? Yes, but I had to wait for Jaws Unleashed for that. Doesn't mean I didn't like this. It was an NES game. What did you expect them to do? There were limits back then. People still hadn't figured out how to properly program for the console. But I enjoy it. It's you play as. I mean, this is more based off of Jaws: The Revenge than any other Jaws movie. They should have just called this Jaws: The Revenge. I don't know why they didn't do that. I mean, this is a poster or part of the poster for Jaws: The Revenge right here. But yeah, you're playing as Mike Brody, and you're collecting conch shells because that's what he did in the movie, and that's your currency in the game. And it's kind of a light RPG where you have to go between these two ports, and you level up every time you get to a different port. And you need to level your character up so that you can finally fight Jaws and take him on and kill him. And you kill him in the exact same way you kill him at the end of Jaws: The Revenge, at least in the theatrical version. Has anyone ever seen the theatrical version of Jaws: The Revenge and then seen the home video version of it and noticed the differences? Let me know in the chat if you have. Oh, Iron Sword, yeah. I remember every single person I knew had Iron Sword. It was like the game that every friend I had in common at that point in time. And I always said it was because the mom would be going to the video store or the Kmart or the Sears or whatever the hell, the Montgomery Wards, to get their kid a new game, not know what the fuck to get them, and then see Fabio on the cover of one and be like, that's the one! Oh, squish! Mom wanted it more than the kids did. We got Joe and Mac. The Super Nintendo version is superior to this, obviously, but it's the exact same game. It's just a little, limited in the color palette and the music, but it controls the same, and it's really fun. I enjoy Joe and Mac very much. I need to find a copy of the Super Nintendo one. I bought that. What was it? Retro Bit released those Super Nintendo cartridges that have like more than one game on it. It's almost like a repro. I found the one that had Joe and Mac 2, and Congo's Caper on it at the exchange down the street. And I bought it going like, oh, look, I don't have to buy 3 separate games. I can have them all on one cartridge and save some space on my shelf. And I ended up selling it because that cartridge was a piece of crap and barely worked. Don't buy those retro bit compilations like they did with the archetypes and all that. Don't. I think they're the same people that made the Holy Diver repro. And the final game is Journey to Silius. This is a game that everybody is streaming now. Captain Algebra was streaming this Tuesday. E.C. Myers was streaming this not too long ago. And I also think... Was it Hungry Garaya? There's someone on Twitch I was watching who was streaming this as well. Keeping them boxes clean for us too after they swiped them. I need to borrow this box for a little while, son. I'm going to go do something. This game is famous for being a Terminator game when it was first in development. Sunsoft got the license for the Terminator movies, was going to make a game about it that all took place in the past, or in the future, in the dystopian future that the movies take place in, like at least the flash forwards do. And then the licensing fell through, and they had to change it into something else, so they turned it into Journey to Silius. And it's not a bad thing. I really, really enjoy this game. It is tough. It's hard as hell. For some reason, this thing here looks like it's out of an R-Type game. There's one boss you fight. But it is really cool. You can see where the Terminator stuff is in it everywhere. I mean, it might as well have been called sort of Terminator. But it's a fun game, side-scrolling action game that's kind of like playing Contra. But you have... you collect new weapons, you collect new guns, but the thing is, you don't like lose one that you had when you pick up a new one. You actually add it to your collection, and they have ammunition that you need to refill, and you can switch between them at your leisure whenever you need to. And it really depends on what you're fighting. You switch to that gun. Oh, Silius is great. That was one of those games I picked up when I got my one of my bonuses at the beginning of the year, like 2 or 3 years ago. And I was like, I pulled the trigger, dude. You got to get it. Soundtrack, yes, the soundtrack to Journey to Silius is fantastic. I highly recommend it. I actually have MP3s of it. I listen to it in my car every once in a while. The Lost Terminator game. And the funny thing is, I think it's Pack and Sack Dave, who does like repros and hacks and all that kind of stuff. He actually turned this back into a Terminator game. And you can get it on a cart. He did a, what was it? He took the Captain America and the Avengers game that I have over here, and he turned it into a Captain America and the Winter Soldier game that's based off of the Marvel movie, the Winter Soldier. Which is kind of cool. I know he took, I think it was Kabuki Quantum Fighter. It was either Kabuki Quantum Fighter or maybe Power Blade or Shatterhand or one of those, and he turned it into a Big Trouble in Little China game. So if you want... some weird repros that are based off of obscure movies from the 80s or whatever, look up Pack and Sack Dave. He does really cool stuff. And I think he's got an Etsy shop. Pack and Sack Dave rules. Damn Skippy. I'm going to need to get a link to the Silius Terminator revert. Brah. Yeah, just look up Pack and Sack Dave on, I think it's on Etsy. And look, the way that Drunken Master Studios spelled it, it's pretty much, I think it is an apostrophe between the Pack and the N. But that's it for part 1 of this video game collection. Next time I will endeavor to not be tired and trip over my words and spill crap all over the place. But yeah, this is all the way through the letter J in my collection, and all the Famicom games, the 5 that I got, and then all the Famicom Disk System games that I have. But next time we're going to go from K through Z, and there are games in the Zs. Do it for me! Oh, yeah, dude. Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll send you the link. No problem. I hope you enjoyed it. I have way too many NES games that I can probably stand. I bought a lot of these with the intention of streaming them, but I'm not streaming anymore, so that's kind of useless. But, I'll just play them for myself. That's the way it should be anyway, isn't it? So, yes, there's going to be... the newest videos that I have coming out is I'm finally going to start working on the 4th movies that would make great video games collaboration. It took me a long time to get everybody together, 10 other YouTubers together to contribute to the stream. People were like, yeah, I'll do it, and then they back out, and then like people just stop talking to you because they know that they were going to do it to begin with and all that. So it took this was the one that took the longest to put together. Like the moment the 3rd part came out, I already had like 3 people send me videos, but then like just trying to get everyone else to like, hey, remember you said you were going to give me a little clip here, and yeah. But yeah, that's the next video, the next main video I'm working on. I also got the new Top 3 Tuesday video coming out. I'm going to probably try to release that next week. And I'm going to have a lot of Diamond in the Rough videos coming out. Probably going to be doing the NES next. Actually, you know what? I know NES won on that poll that I released on my my Facebook page. But because the Dreamcast just had its 20th anniversary, I'm thinking I'm just going to like put the NES one off for one video and then do the Dreamcast one next. Just because. Dreamcast is my second favorite console of all time. I'm thinking the Dreamcast Diamonds in the Rough video is coming up next after the collaboration. So, thank you for joining me. I hope you will come back next week to see the rest of my NES games. That will be followed by the Sega Genesis, which is probably going to have to be split into 2 as well, and the Super Nintendo. So, thanks for coming. I appreciate each and every one of you stopping by to chat with me and to share in this madness that is my NES collection. Maybe it'll come out this week. Yeah, you're probably right. So I'll talk to you all later. Chris, the old-ass retro gamer, signing off. Have a good night, everybody.